On today's episode, I'll be sharing once again an interview I did with Sarah Carson for the fundraiser we did in December. This is an amazing interview with an amazing woman who is an NLP trainer and a great singer cabaret performer in New York City, and she'll teach us how to use NLP for state management and peak performance. You are listening to the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast, a show devoted to uncovering the systems and the secrets that set the best apart, where you learn how to take your coaching clients to the next level, while you grow the coaching practice of your dreams. So sit back and relax, or sit up and get excited. Either way, you might want to pay attention. This could be important. Welcome, Sarah Carson.
Hi, Doug. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God, it's so good to have you. I really am delighted that you're here for a variety of reasons. One, it's fun to see you again, but also because this is a fundraiser, and I don't know if you remember like telethons. I don't know if they had them over there in England where you
Sure.
were. Over here, we had telethons, the Jerry Lewis telethon, and these performers would come out and they would raise money, and that's what I'm hoping to do here. But most of the people that have been on the show and are still to be on the show, if you call it a show, are just talking, just talking, which is fine. It's interesting talking about good stuff, and we'll talk about some good stuff too. But you're going to also share some of your amazing skills as a performer.
Yes, absolutely. I'm always happy to do that.
And it's also kind of interesting because we're mostly talking about NLP, and that's how we know each other. But part of the reason you are able to be a performer is because of NLP, as I understand it. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've always thought of myself as a singer. I loved to sing even as a little child. My parents were involved in their local amateur dramatics. And I got involved at that in a very young age, and all sorts of kids theatre stuff. And even if we're looking back, even then I had a little bit of performance anxiety.
Mm.
Singing in front of people seemed to, get me a little bit tight.
Sure.
But I loved it enough that I carried on all through university and afterwards. And I started at one point to get a few small little roles, a line here in a musical, or a small part. And I kind of muscled my way through a lot of those things. But by the time it got to the early 2000s, I was studying classical voice and opera. And in my lessons with my teacher, I was absolutely fine. I was used to her. I was used to the accompanist.
Hmm.
It was all good. But the moment anybody said, "Oh, we're going to do a performance or a concert, or would you sing at my wedding," everything would just tighten up instantly. And classic performance anxiety. And like I say, kind of by the time I got to the early 2000s, I really didn't want to sing in public at all.
Oh,
It really closed.
it sort of got worse and worse as you went on.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like I said, I was kind of muscling through. If I had, interestingly enough, if I'd really practiced and I had the music in front of me, it was almost like a barrier, a
Hmm.
shield between
Oh,
me and the
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you had a sheet music, a stand in front of you, absolutely.
stand or a folder with my music in, or
Right,
something like
right.
that. But for most performances, you kind of didn't have that. It was really exposing.
Oh, I know.
And yeah, in 2006, Sean and I had both decided to take a couple of years off from our jobs, our other jobs now. And Sean had a long list of things that he wanted to do. One of the things he wanted to do was an NLP course, which he did. One of the things I wanted to do was to study classical voice and opera, a little bit more in depth.
Hmm.
And I took a 2-week class in Italy, in Tuscany. I don't know if you've ever
Wow,
been to
nice.
Tuscany, but it
I've never
is
been.
stunningly beautiful.
Yeah.
And there I was singing opera in the home of opera. And it was just so idyllic. And I was okay, a little nervous every time I had to stand up in front of the class, a few more people in that group. And then they said, well, Sarah, of course, there's going to be the performance at the end. Oh, gosh. I couldn't counter that. There was no way I could suddenly be like, oh, sorry, we've got other plans, or, you know, I was kind of like really stuck there. And Sean was coming over for the performance at the end. He just finished his NLP practitioner, and he could see I was like really struggling with this. And, you know, you can picture the scene. We were sitting at this villa in the Tuscan hills with the terracotta rooftops below, the cypress trees waving in the breeze, the bell chiming in the distance. And I felt terrible that I had to do this performance. And Sean said to me, would you like me to do something? You know, I learned some things on this NLP course, and maybe this thing will help. So, of course, I didn't know what he was going to do, but I said, yes,
Yes.
do anything,
do
help me,
something.
help. Yeah, desperation time. So he asked, I can't remember exactly what it was. I know now it was a fairly simple kinesthetic resource anchor.
Cool.
You know, he got me into that positive state, got me to squeeze, I think, my thumb and here, so that I could stand like an opera singer, kind of like this.
Good. Yeah.
And of course, asked me to imagine these things, see these things, feel these things, set the anchor. All of this.
Mm-hmm.
Half an hour, 20 minutes later, he said, okay, so now, you know, when you think about performing tonight, fire off that anchor. And how do you feel? And I felt different.
Nice.
That's all I can say. I felt different. And it was so shockingly astounding that whatever Sean had done and whatever I had done in my mind in 20 minutes, an hour, had an effect with something that I had been dealing with, struggling with, hiding, running away from for years.
So that night when you did the performance, how'd it go?
I walked out confidently. I did my anchor before, walked out confidently, sang beautifully, and it was great.
Cool. And have you always had to use that anchor ever since? Because you've been singing for quite a while, since 2007.
No. You know, that was the start. That was the start of overcoming the performance anxiety. And if I'm absolutely honest, it still crops up occasionally. Yeah. And I have to do a little bit of inner work just to be like, come on. Yeah. You know, this, you know how to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's funny you should say this, because as you are aware, and you can see in the background, I'm a piano player. Yeah. When I moved to New York City a long time ago, I was coming to New York City to play music, and that was what I was doing. And I'd studied at conservatory and things for a while, and I was a performer, but I was always terribly afraid of performing. It was really scary. Performance anxiety was like through the roof. I did it, but it was not exactly fun. And I kind of thought I should have fun doing this thing. It's performance. It's, you know, you play the piano, you don't work the piano, you know, it's, you know, but it was terrifying. And so I saw this advertisement for a woman doing a study on performance anxiety for pianists. She needed a bunch of pianists to do this study at Columbia University. And so I said, sign me up, I'm there. And so she had 3 groups. One was a control group that did nothing. They played and measured their anxiety, and then they 2 weeks later came back and played again and measured their anxiety. And not surprisingly, it's pretty much the same second time. Then they had 2 other groups, one that did hypnosis for a while and then performed 2 weeks later. And then one that just learned the sort of techniques for learning the music very, very thoroughly, you know, inside and out. So you really, really knew the piece so cold. And I was in that second group. I learned the piece very thoroughly, you know, which worked really well. I learned techniques that I still use to this day to really know the piece inside and out, so that I was, you know, very confident that I could play it no matter what. Very helpful. But she also said, once the study was over and she got the results that she needed for her thesis or whatever, she would teach the people in the other groups the things that the other groups
Mm,
had learned if she wanted to learn. So I went back, and that's where I first learned hypnosis, was back with her. And yes, some of those things, although I'm much better,
yeah.
I'm not a professional performer anymore either, but nevertheless, when I was for never 6 years in New York City after that, um, it was not a problem. And if it was a problem, if I was doing like a big performance or whatever that might be, then yeah, I might have to do a little bit more of like squeezing my anchor or
Yeah,
whatever to do it, but it works.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
kind of cool. So is that kind of what got you into NLP then, is to say, well, this stuff,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It was instant. I came back to New York City and I looked immediately for an NLP course because I was
Huh?
fascinated. I didn't think some people will go to an NLP course because they feel that they really want to help other people. They feel
Mhm.
kind of called to that.
Yeah.
Some people will go to an NLP course because they're like, I got issues and problems, and maybe this going on a course will help me. I didn't really feel like I had either of those things. I was just fascinated in what had just happened.
Mm.
Absolutely fascinated. How can this thing with a slightly strange name, clunky old
Yeah,
name,
very clunky.
how can doing those things just in my mind change me so much? So that's what I was absolutely fascinated with. I didn't really have any intentions of becoming a trainer and setting up a school, or writing books and doing
Yeah,
this as a profession. But that's where the universe led.
yeah,
So, which is
exactly.
fantastic. So
Yeah,
that 20 minutes was not only changed me personally for my, really helped me on that road to being able to perform, but it massively changed, my life, my
yeah,
job, career. Yeah, it
yeah.
was fantastic.
I know
Yeah,
the feeling. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. It was just brilliant. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
excellent. So, I would love to hear you perform.
Well, you're in luck. Yes, because I just did my debut cabaret performance, solo
Okay,
show here
just
in
for
New York
people that
City.
don't know what that means, what does that mean?
Hmm.
A cabaret performance. What does that mean?
Well, let's start with what cabaret is, because
Okay.
a lot of people don't really know what cabaret is. I didn't really. It's a really interesting genre of music where you connect really deeply with the lyrics of a song
Hmm.
so that it tells some kind of story.
Right.
And you also break that fourth wall that you will want to really connect with the audience.
Right.
So when I'm on stage, I'm not taking on the role of another character or being another person. And I'm also not just a singer on the stage who's just going to entertain you with a bunch of songs. There's a deeper connection to the music and to being able to move the audience as well.
Hmm.
And there are all kinds of different ways that you'd approach a song in cabaret. Sometimes you'll do a little bit of story and then you'll sing a little bit, and then you'll carry on with a little bit more story, then you'll sing a little bit more of the song. Or sometimes you might change the rhythm of a song completely. You may take a song that might be in a bit more of a waltz time and make it I don't know, a samba or something. Completely changes
Hmm.
how you you connect with the music. So that's a cabaret in a nutshell. Usually cabaret is performed in fairly small, intimate settings as
Right.
well.
Yeah, like
Um,
dinner clubs or whatever. But
Sometimes in clubs or sort of small bars. Very often
right,
bars will have a cabaret room at the back.
right.
Uh,
But
yeah.
my heavens, if it's stage fright you want,
Mhm.
get up on a cabaret performance, because you are,
Yeah.
there's no
Opening
stand, there's
your
music stand, there's nothing, there's no no, the fourth wall is an imaginary thing where you imagine that's like, I'm doing my part up here, there's no audience out there, I'm here
Excellent.
just
Yes.
talking to this person naturally, this is
Right.
the way I
Yeah.
talk. But there's
Yes.
no fourth wall in cabaret. You're
Yep.
talking like, hello, this is me.
Here's
I'm,
me,
yeah, it's like,
my story,
good for
my
you.
interpretation. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I just loved it. As soon as I started taking classes and learning about it, I was like, oh, this is really powerful.
It
And
is.
the creative process of finding the right songs for the right story, or the right story to go with the right song, those things were just, that creative process was really fulfilling.
It's really, it's big.
So
I as a piano player, did some cabaret performing, not as the singer, but as the guy who fortunately was over there,
ah,
supporting the singer. I could do that, but
yeah,
being that person out front, boy, I take my hat off to you. That's
yeah. So the piece I'm going to share with you is from my debut cabaret show that happened earlier
wow,
this year. It was
right.
an hour here in New York City at Don't Tell Mamas, and it was called England and America, a transatlantic love story. So it was about me coming over to America and about some of my ancestors and all kinds of different things. So let me see if I can get this up and ready, and then what do I do? Is just share my screen.
Yeah, share your screen.
All right. I think it's on my desktop. Let's see. Yes, this one here.
Great. And I'm going to mute myself so I can.
So I'd like to take you back now to 1896, to the city of Cambridge in England, where a baby girl was born named Nella. And when Nella grew up, she became a teenager and she had a sweetheart named Reg. In 1912, Nella's family decided to move to Canada. Well, Nella and Reg were heartbroken that they were going to be separated by thousands of miles, by an entire ocean. But Reg vowed that when he turned 18, he was going to get on that boat, cross the Atlantic, and claim his sweetheart. I will die every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I will love you for 1,000 years. I'll love you for 1,000 more. Well, Reg did turn 18 in 1914, and instead of getting on that boat to Canada, he got on a boat to northern France and the trenches of the First World War. Hearts beat fast, colors and promises. How to be brave, how can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. For 5 years, Reg fought in those trenches. I can't begin to imagine what his experience was like. But I do like to think that those few letters and photographs that he had of Nella kept him going in the hopes that one day they would be reunited. Time stands still, beauty in all she is. I will be brave, I will not let anything take away what's standing in front of me. Every hour, every breath has come to this. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I will love you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. All along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me, and I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you. 1919, Reg returned to Cambridge, and he worked for an entire year to save enough money for his passage to Canada. And on October the 6th, 1920, Reg arrived in Canada to see Nella waiting for him on the dock. They hadn't seen each other in over 8 years. Did she still love him? One step closer. One step closer. I have died every day waiting for you. Darling, don't be afraid. I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. All along I believed I would find you. Time has brought your heart to me, and I have loved you for 1,000 years. I love you for 1,000 more. 1 week later, Nella and Reg were married. And they remained married for over 50 years. How do I know? Nella and Reg were my grandparents. Stand still, beauty in all she is. I will be brave. I will not let anything take away. But standing in front of me, every breath, every hour has come to this. There we go.
Beautiful. My goodness. God,
Thank you.
let's talk about state management. Good Lord. How do you do that?
Practice.
I mean, hold on a second. Stage fright's one thing, but how do you like sing a song like that without just, bawling your eyes out every night?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you bawl your eyes out during rehearsal. You can't, if you show too much emotion on the stage,
Right, I know.
the audience actually doesn't connect. They suddenly become more concerned about, oh gosh, is she going to be all right?
Yeah, they're trying to take care of you. I know.
Right. Whereas what I'm trying to do is paint pictures in the audience's minds. And that may have happened to you when you were listening to it. Did you see the ship coming in? Did you see them waving, having goodbye? All of those things. Yeah.
Definitely.
So state management is huge. And that is part of being the performer, taking on that performer role, is walking that fine line of being able to step into enough of the emotion that the voice is still there and you can still control everything. And that is practice. That's a lot of practice. And also knowing that if you get to that moment where you think you might become over emotional, what to do.
All right. And so do you use NLP for that?
I used a tremendous amount of NLP in preparation for the entire show, in how to learn lyrics and the anchoring that I also use for when I'm standing over here, I'm singing this, or even a hand gesture during a song would remind me of the particular lyric that perhaps I'd been stumbling over. All these little things are in there. And absolutely, I practiced and did a tremendous amount of future pacing for the show. That was a huge thing.
What do you mean?
I rehearsed in my mind's eye the show, how it was going to be from many different perspectives.
I
I
see.
would rehearse from myself being on the stage and it all going wonderfully well, everything working beautifully, looking out at the audience, seeing the audience, getting used to things like you may have noticed someone walked by the camera.
Yeah,
That's the server. That's his job. He's serving people. But it can be distracting,
sure.
when you're up there to suddenly someone's up there or they're whispering or their phone goes off. I practiced all of those little scenarios in my mind.
Interesting.
And then sometimes I would practice sitting in the audience and watching myself.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then big part of that was the positive commentary that I was having as an audience member whilst watching myself on the stage.
Wow.
Because I think, and certainly in the work that I've done with other performers, a big part of performance anxiety is that we're on the stage or we're under the spotlight, and somewhere in our mind is we are projecting ourselves into the audience and criticizing ourselves.
Yeah, right.
We're imagining that the audience
Yeah,
are not saying such nice things about us or comparing us to somebody else
right.
or thinking about their shopping grocery list or, not engaged.
Yeah,
So I did that a lot as well. I'd sit myself in the audience and I'd constantly be saying positive things so that when I was on the stage, that would hopefully be running somewhere in the background that people were saying positive things.
nice.
Now, I can't guarantee that. I hope they were.
But it's a much better use of the same process of your brain where imagining them saying something instead of saying, oh my God, she's just so, instead
Yeah,
of the bad stuff, have them say the good stuff.
right.
Why not? It's just imaginary anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So I did a tremendous amount of NLP and self-hypnosis.
Wow, that's great.
I mean, every single day for months, I would do something along with learning those lyrics. Like
Right.
you were saying,
Yeah.
that there's no substitute for learning the lyrics, learning the music, learning the words of your speech or your
Yeah.
presentation. I don't know that NLP can get around that in a quick and simple and easy way. I'm sure there are some techniques that will help us with memory recall. Certainly there are. But there's no substitute for putting in the hours, putting in the legwork. And I really drilled that. So that
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully that
And
this
it's an interesting point because a lot of times people think NLP or even hypnosis is going to be that just automatic click your fingers and everything's changed. And that
would be
isn't.
wonderful.
Yeah, it would be wonderful. But like with weight loss as an example, when I do hypnosis for weight loss, it's like I'm not going to click my fingers and make it somebody skinny by the time they leave the session, nor will I make it so that they can eat all kinds of junk and be.
You'd be a multi-millionaire if you could.
I know, right?
We all would be.
But what we can do is we can help a person do those, be in the right state of mind, et cetera, to do the work that you need to do to get there eventually. And that's the
Exactly.
same true with performing. I mean, I spend hours on that thing, just practicing
Yeah.
in order to do a 5-minute performance.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. And one interesting thing I also did, I practiced for getting it wrong and for making a mistake.
Oh, no, tell me about that.
Yeah, I thought that might be interesting because a lot of people are like, you did what? Are you not future pacing for failure? No, I'm giving myself a recovery strategy.
Cool. Beautiful. Tell me
Right?
more. Tell me more.
Because it's live performance. I'm going to mess up at some point on a lyric or a word or something, or have a moment of like, oh, where am I? What's the next song? Those things are likely to happen at some point.
Right.
And so I wanted to set in mind, what do I do?
Yeah. Great.
So that it doesn't come to that moment and be like the deer in the headlights. It's already a little bit practiced.
Yeah, good for
Right?
you. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
absolutely critical. I remember after my my senior recital in college, I did well, but there were moments where maybe the stage fright maybe got a little better of me or whatever. But there were times where I did not play the notes that Chopin had intended. Let's just say, and but I kept right on going. Nobody, well, my teacher knew it, obviously, and it's probably a few of the other musicians in the audience knew about it. But, you know, I got to the end of the thing, and I remember my aunt coming up to me and said, "That was wonderful, and you didn't miss a single note. That was amazing. You remember all that stuff." I was like, "Yes, that's right."
Thank you. Yeah.
Right, you just go, "Yeah, thank you."
Yeah, because, and particularly in cabaret, it's very forgiving. Part
Mm,
of it is being human
yeah.
on the stage and just being a normal human being on the stage. And I've been to numerous cabaret performances when people have stumbled on a lyric or said, "What's the next song?" And actually there's something quite endearing about that.
Right.
What I didn't want was the complete blank.
Right.
And that can happen when a tiny stumble happens, and then it becomes, you kind of unravel. So that is at the point that I wanted to put that kind of recovery strategy. What do I do? Do I smile, keep going? Yeah, that's one of the things. Do I ask my musical director, or I hope he's going to throw me out one of the lyrics?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But there are numerous different things that I also, practiced for if things went a tiny bit astray. But I only did that closer to the performance, kind of towards the end of my inner work. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
start out with that. I
Right.
really wanted to lay that strong foundation of everything going really, really well, having that positive voice in my head. And when that felt like, oh, okay, we're really moving well with this, there was that little moment. Okay, now what if something goes a little astray? Let's
Mm-hmm.
put something in there, a little safety net
It's great.
in there. So yeah.
I'm just curious about something you just said. You wondered if your music director might, toss something out there. So the piano player is not just a piano player. He's,
Oh
in this
no.
case, he's your music
He
director.
is my musical director, and I worked with him, and my director, Stephen Ray Watkins, was my musical director, and Lenny Watts, my director. I worked with them for months and months and months and months
Huh.
on this music, putting it together. And because it's cabaret, it's not just stand up and sing. I mean, in that one piece there, it was, I think I started with "I will die every day waiting for you," which in the actual song is the chorus that comes after
Mm-hmm.
2 verses.
Right, right.
But we decided to speak a little bit, start the story, and then put that piece in, and then weave the rest of the story from there. So it really is a collaborative, creative experience for pretty much every single song. There's rarely a song that completely stands alone, that
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been played with and modeled and moved into and shaped into the way that best expresses what it is that I
Yeah,
wanted to express.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. Mm,
Cool. So, do you have another song for us?
I do. I have another couple. So let's share this one. Let me tell you a little bit about it first.
Okay.
This particular show, England and America, a transatlantic love story, was a little bit about my family history. I love family history. And also about me coming over from England to live in America. And a couple of the songs I'd done were kind of funny songs, poking fun at New York and listing things that annoyed me about New York and all of this. And I said at one point to my musical director and my director, "But I've lived here for 26 years. I don't want that to be the only thing I sing about in New York. I want there to be something that says, you know what? I love New York. I love
Mm,
living here in the States." So then we had the job of trying to find the right song for that. And this is what we came up with.
nice.
Some folks like to get away, take a holiday from the neighborhood, hop a flight to Miami Beach or Hollywood. Me, I'm taking a Greyhound on the Hudson River line. I'm in a New York state of mind. line. I'm in a New York state of mind. Every kiss, every hug seems to act just like a drug. You're getting to be a habit with me. Let me stay in your arms. I'm addicted to your charm. You're getting to be a habit with me. I used to think your love was something that I could take or leave alone. But now I can do without my supply. I need you for my own. Oh, I can't break away. I must have you every day, as regularly as coffee or tea. You got me in your clutches and I can't break free. You're getting to be a habit with me. I'll take Manhattan. You're getting to be a habit with me. And it's fine with me, 'cause I let it slide. I don't care if it's Chinatown or up on Riverside. Don't have any reasons, I've left them all behind. I'm in a New York state of mind. I'm just taking that Greyhound on the Hudson River line. I'm in a New York state of mind, getting to be a habit with me.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh, I didn't even know there was a drummer. I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a bassist and a percussionist as well.
For those of you who don't know, Don't Tell Mamas is a big club. I mean, that's like Broadway. This is
Yeah.
you're playing with the big boys up there. That's that's
Yeah.
impressive. Really
Thank you.
is.
Well, I've actually just been nominated for Broadway World Cabaret Awards for
No
Best
way.
Debut Show.
Wow, fantastic.
If you want to vote for me, go to BroadwayWorld.com and find their cabaret awards, and I'll be there.
I do. Broadway, BroadwayWorld.com. All right, very neat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Congratulations, that's
So,
fantastic.
thank you. Thank you very much. I was unbelievably honored. It's just wow, amazing. Yeah.
Wow, what a way to get out of the gates, huh?
Yep,
First,
absolutely. Yeah, really thrilling. Really thrilling.
wow.
Yeah.
So, as your music director and your director, have they done this before? Have they?
Many times. Yes, they've been doing this for decades, the two of them, and it's their job. It's their full-time job. So yeah, I joined an organization called Singnasium here in New York,
Hmm.
and they run classes in cabaret.
Wow.
And that's where it's run by Lenny Watts, who's my director, and Stephen is one of the people who work alongside him. And yeah, there are classes in New York City. If anyone is interested in singing, they do some remote things as well. I think they did one in Chicago. I think San Diego, they're having some classes. So they're beginning to stretch outside of New York. And yeah, so if there are any singers who are listening in who want to give this a go, check
Right.
out Singnasium. Yeah, they're
Very
really
cool.
great. Really great.
I
Yeah.
sing. I'm a singer. I just don't ever sing in front of people.
Are you a shower singer?
I'm a car singer.
Mhm.
Also, my wife is down in the New York City apartment, so when I'm alone here, I'm a piano playing singer.
Yeah, there you go. You're a Billy Joel.
No, just between you and me, I'm not a fan
Oh
of,
no,
of the Joel man. Yeah, so
mm,
we'll just let that slide right
we'll
now.
let that slide. We'll let it slide.
I
We
liked
don't
what
care if
you
it's
did with
sliding
that
down.
song, though. I liked the way you played that song, and also the way you mashed it together with "Getting to Be a Habit with
Yeah,
Me." That's very cool.
yeah, yeah. And that's one of the things I absolutely love about cabaret as well, is that we get used to it, especially if it's a song we know well. New
Mm,
York State of Mind is a fairly well-known song,
yeah,
but all of a sudden, oh, it wakes us up again.
yeah, yeah,
Be like, oh, something new and different. What is this? I wasn't expecting that. That wasn't the lyric I was half singing in my head. She's doing something different,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And
Looking for
why?
something new and different. Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't we ask our clients to do that all the time? Look for things that are new and different,
That's true. That's
right? A change has happened. Look for the change. Look for the even small things that are new and different. So the
right.
brain loves it. It just, shakes that concrete. The brain was like, oh, I know this song. Ooh, what was that? Oh,
So
great.
let me ask you a question about that sort of thing. I know that you've used NLP for yourself in becoming a better performer or performer at all. And how has performing informed your therapy practice when you do NLP hypnosis with other people?
I think it just gives me more insight in so many ways, particularly
Hmm.
in working with people to overcome performance anxiety,
Right,
because
right.
another little thing will crop up, or I'll suddenly um, uh, come up with a little personal technique and begin to share that a lot more
Oh, I see.
with clients. So it's those kinds of things, I think, really, yeah, that it has informed.
Yeah, it's neat. It's
Mm,
really cool.
yeah,
Gosh,
yeah.
it's so fun. I could do this all day. In fact, I've been wanting to come to your show. Are you going to be doing any more performances?
Maybe January, February time. Nothing is set in stone yet,
Okay.
but I'll let you know.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the challenge about being up here in the woods or wherever the heck I am out in
yeah.
the country of upstate New York, as we call it. It's funny, by the way, people in New York State, New York City, this is definitely where I live right now is definitely upstate. I'm
Oh yeah.
2 hours north of the city. Totally, it is upstate. If I mention that I'm living upstate to somebody from my hometown of Buffalo, they go like, "That's not upstate. You're down by New York City. What are you talking about?" Because it's a
Yep.
big state, and there's a lot more of it that's
All a matter
a
of
lot up
perspective,
from.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's all about perspective.
yeah, but still, it's hard to get down into the city for a cabaret performance that's on a Thursday or
Yeah,
whatever. So, but we'll keep trying.
yeah.
But
Yes,
there's something
yes.
about it live. I mean, as wonderful as it is to see these recordings, seeing it live, there's something about being in that room, with a person who is doing what you do there, just sort of like being
Yeah,
naked, if you will, in front of everybody and having that communication, that, community commune, you're communing, it's that deep communication that happens in these
yeah, yeah,
positive,
yeah. And
amazing
and
stuff.
I truly believe live music works on a level that I don't think we've even begun to understand.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so inherently deep in all of us, whether you would think of yourself as a musician or not. You know,
yeah,
the heartbeat is what we hear first.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
The vibrations that we feel from things and people around us. It's all connected, and music brings people together in wonderfully unique
Yeah.
ways.
And
Yeah,
again, for the way you're doing it with the cabaret, there's also the element of the story and the storytelling that's involved in that. And as we in NLPers, if we've had the connection with Erickson and Erickson's work, the idea of the story and the message that come through the story is very, very important, and how
yes.
people connect to that. But when you do that, when it's your story, and you're
Hmm.
telling your story to a bunch of strangers, it's really, that level of vulnerability that you let yourself be in is just so amazing,
Yeah,
that if you
yeah,
can, do that and offer that to people, then that gives them permission to feel the vulnerability in themselves. And it's a really, oh man, Like you
Yeah.
said, there's just nothing quite like live performance when that story is involved and it's your story and people are saying, "Oh my God, this human
Yeah.
being in front of us is
Yeah. Yeah. Or even some, I mean, some cabaret shows will take one artist or two artists and they'll be telling their stories.
Oh yeah,
So it
yeah,
may not be a personal story, but it's the performer's personal connection to that artist
sure, yeah,
or that particular genre. Or, you know, a friend of mine did a show all about Todd Rundgren. Another friend did a show about Carole King.
mm,
So, you know, you can, or Rodgers and Hammerstein. I mean, there's a wealth of work
yeah, yeah,
there, and it's not their personal stories of their life, but it is their personal connection
hmm,
to the artist that
yeah, yeah.
they're bringing as well. And
Love
so
it.
that brings a different slant to things as well. So yeah, cabaret is really interesting. And honestly, I didn't know really anything about it until a couple of years ago. I kind of thought it was a little bit sort of, you know, fishnets and basques and a little burlesque type of thing, which
Right,
it really isn't at all.
right. Well, it
Yeah.
can be, but I mean, burlesque is a different genre, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
which is wonderful in itself. Um,
Yeah.
so I would love to hear just one more story. You said there's another one you got?
I have one more that I pulled out, and this is Anything Can Happen from Mary Poppins. And this was right at the very end of my show. It was the last song I did, and I wanted something really uplifting. And, you know, this is a great NLP song as well, because anything can happen. Anything can happen in our lives, right?
Yes.
So there we go. Let me share
Right.
this one with you.
All right. Fantastic.
And I'm living proof that anything can happen if you let it. Sometimes things are difficult, but you can bet it doesn't have to be so. Changes can be made. You can move a mountain if you use a larger spade. Anything can happen, it's a marvel. You can be a butterfly or just stay larval. Stretch your mind beyond fantastic. Dreams are made of strong elastic. Take some sound advice and don't forget it. Anything can happen if you let it. Anything can happen if you let it. You won't know the challenge until you've met it. No one does it for you, no one but yourself. Vacillating violets get left up on the shelf. Anything can happen, raise the curtain. Things you thought impossible will soon seem certain. Though at first it may seem clownish, turn the world upside downish. Turn it on its head and pirouette it. Anything can happen if you let it. If you reach for the stars, all you get are the stars. So we found a whole new spin. If you reach for the heavens, you get the stars thrown in. Oh, anything can happen if you let it. Life is out there waiting, so go and get it. Grab it by the collar, seize it by the scruff. Once you started living life, you just can't get enough. Anything can happen, it's official. You can choose the super or superficial. Sally forth the way we're steering. Obstacles start disappearing. Go and chase your dreams, you won't regret it. Anything can happen, anything can happen, anything can happen if you let it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Carson.
Love that.
You're on mute. Well, there you go.
Ah, yeah. Love that. Wow, my goodness gracious. I don't remember that from Mary Poppins, but I love that song and you sounded like Julie Andrews
Thank
to me, as far as I could tell.
Oh, thank you. That's a big compliment. Thank you. It's actually from the musical that was a newer musical of Mary Poppins that was produced probably maybe 5-10 years ago.
Oh,
And they did some of the original songs, you know, Chim Chimney and Supercalifragilistic and all those. And then a few others were written specially for that production. And so it was one of the newer ones that was written in there. And I just loved it, you know. It's
yeah, it's
just
great.
go chase your dreams. You won't regret it.
And the lyrics are really, really fun. I'm going to
Yeah.
look these up because they're.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but there's one about being larval in there. I thought that was really.
You can be a butterfly or just stay larval.
Wonderful.
True.
Well, that was
You
great.
can move you use a larger spade, you know.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Julie Andrews never actually did sing that song, and now you have.
Thank you. Yes, I have. And
Oh,
enjoyed
my
every
goodness.
moment.
This was just fantastic, and I really do hope that you know, the people listening will appreciate what you've offered here, and that that we all of us can help and support, you know, Mary Lou and Jerry to raise some money here for his long-term care. But wow, absolutely delight. And so people can get hold of you and come see your shows, sarahcarson.com, or how do they find you?
No, you're probably best is the intelligent hypnotist at gmail.com. That's our email address for our business. So if it's an NLP style thing, sure, you know, give us a call or an email there. Yeah. And the intelligenthypnotist.com is the website that we have.
Intelligent Hypnotist.
The Intelligent Hypnotist.
Is it the Intelligent Hypnotist?
Yes. The Intelligent Hypnotist.
And that's you, or is that you and?
Yes. Myself and my husband, Sean, and our partner, Jess Marion.
So it's 3 intelligent
Yes.
hypnotists.
Yes. Yes. But it's not just us who's the intelligent hypnotist. Everybody is an intelligent hypnotist.
Excellent. Excellent. Great. Well, gosh, Sarah, thank you so much for this. It was just wonderful. And I could do this all day.
Welcome. It was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me. It was great chatting with you.
Absolutely. This has been the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure seeing you again. Hope to see you again real soon. Come back next week when we have another gripping and exciting episode of the Essential Coaching Skills Podcast. And if you want to, you can find out more about us, each and every one of us, at essentialcoachingskills.com. Thanks.